Good morning, everyone. Respected teachers, my dear colleagues and friends, a warm welcome to the Hyderabad for this two-day RIRS versus Miniperk workshop. Hope you'll enjoy the moments. Let us start with as basics as we know, anatomy of RIRS. I'm not going into the details of the basic anatomy, just what is required to do an RIRS that will be dealt with. So just going into that and just changing the way of thinking to the people. Why do we require this in RIRS? Because there are multiple permutation and combination of the pelvic cell system which we need to have an idea before entering into the collecting system, and also the surrounding structures where the chances of injury are very high. So we'll be discussing this anatomy into three parts as our scope goes through the urethra, ureter and the pelvic cell system. So coming to urethra, the average normal caliber of urethra, male is around 6 to 8 mm, which is around 18 to 24 French. So it is good for our access sheets and for the scopes, and female is around 6 to 7 mm, around 18 to 23 French. No issues here, but when we come to a pediatrics urethral size, so we have a little bit of restrictions which we have to take care, and hopefully today in these presentations and workshops we will be highlighting again about the pediatric size and the sheath what we are using here. So second most important is the posterior urethral angle, which is around 0 to 90 degree varying, and most common is around 48 degree. Anything more than 45 degrees gives trouble while inserting our access sheath, as we are routinely doing that. So we have, if we find this kind of a bladder neck which is severely elevated, obstructive prostatic lobe, take it for granted this is going to give us a trouble on this day. So for this we have a technique where we introduce this access sheath over a rigid ureteroscope 4 by 5.5, where under vision you will be entering into the bladder, into the ureter without any problems. Ureter, I need not go into the details. Endoscopically we divide into above the iliac vessels and below the iliac vessels. We have to monitor for the pulses. Yes, always the trouble is here. Vesico-ureteric junction, where the orifice, each orifice is different. Each time we will be having a struggle to enter into the VUJ. So courtesy with Dr. Oliver Traxler, who has shown this beautiful image where a simple guide wire into the ureteric orifice will give us an idea whether today we can do the RIRS or we have to put a stent. If we find a small oval shaped opening below the guide wire, on that day we are sure that we are going to do the RIRS with an access sheath. So more trouble when we have a large prostate, we will have a very deep orifice. These things we need to manage with a stent initially to straighten the ureter, and as much as possible have an RGP on table to confirm the positions. So most common constrictions of this ureter, as we all know, the vesico-ureteric junction, crossing of the iliac vessels and the uretropelvic junction. So normal caliber of the ureter, intramural is around 1.5 to 3 mm, and in the pelvis is around 4 mm. Abdomen is 5 to 6 mm, and uretropelvic junction is around 2 to 4 mm. So we have to beware at especially one side, that is just below the PUJ, which is just the most thinnest part of the ureter, which is easy to get ruptured. So while the introduction of the access sheath, we should be knowing the course of the ureter, which we are doing routinely. First we enter into the orifice, turn to the lateral side, and then move up, cross the iliac vessels, and then the ureter becomes straight. Once we cross the UPGA, there will be a small dip before you enter into the middle or lower calyx. So anatomy of the pelvic calcium system. So normally, as we know, there are around 7 to 13 calyces, pyramids around 8 to 18. So most common types of pelvis what we are seeing is the funnel shaped balloon pelvis, or the bifid system, or intrarenal pelvis, or even an absent pelvis. Very rarely we get complete duplications. So there is a bit of classifications for this anatomy. Most commonly followed is the Sampiano's classification, where the mid zone of the kidney, how it is drained. Depending on that, they have divided into 4 types. Type 1A is the mid zone is drained separately from the upper and middle calyx. Type B, where there will be interchange of the mid zone calyces, upper and lower are interchanged. Type C, where it is independently draining the pelvic calcium system separately, upper and middle, and type D, where everything opens into the collecting system there. Another is the Graves classification, where there is classic type, inverted T-type, balloon or bagpipes. This is very rarely used. So overall, there are type A1 are common in 38% and type B1 are common in 29%, which are most common anatomy what we see. But whatever may be the anatomy, there is no much statistical difference between these anatomical side. Most commonly right side we say type A and left side we see type B. But whatever it may be, once you enter with the scope, depending on that anatomy, the access, everything will depend. You need not bother about the complete structural anatomy. You have to have an idea about the roadmap. What is this roadmap? This is nothing but our routine RGP, what we are doing, superimposition, alteration of variable distribution, difficulty in identifying, anterior polys calyx, everything will be dealt by this roadmap. Previously we used to have an IVU, but recently we have a 3D which is giving a better idea. We have a three-dimensional orientation before entering into the theaters, where we will be having what to do, what is the situation, and everything will be analyzed. And RGP works wonder. Whenever you are in doubt, just put some contrast, dilute contrast, you'll get your roadmap. You will come to know where you are, you can get back to your roadmap, you can identify the stone easily. So blood supply, nothing much difference. The asymmetrical upper side you will be having on the medial end and the lower side on the lateral end. So vessels around these calyces are the most important, especially near the infundibulum. Whenever we are doing an RIRS, if we burn near the infundibulum, we should be careful, especially with the high volt laser. There is chances of injuring those infundibular vessels. Abnormal ureters looks horrifying on the images, but believe me, for RRS, it's a simple normal ureter where you need not bother about the type, what crossing, what, where. You have to just do an RGP and introduce your access sheath and the scope. It easily follows the curve. It does not take any difference for you. And once you are inside the kidney, it's the same. But have an RGP always to confirm the positions correctly. So take home, risks are interesting but not other lives. Know your anatomy well, pass on the benefits to the patient, predict the curvatures and handle them very carefully, and you have to decide your anatomy first. Thank you.
Discussion we can do it in the end if time permits. Yes. And 2 minutes discussion is permitted. Okay. So any questions from the hall? Please, Tanuj.
Hi, good morning. Regarding your tip of using a sheath over the ureteroscope, we were also doing it, but what I have realized is there's a gap between the ureteroscope and the sheath. At times it injures the mucosa. So are you taking any special precaution to prevent that?
So what we are using is a 4 French ureteroscope over a 9x11 French access sheath. This gives a snugly fit. No other combination will give that fitting. If you use a 6 French or if you use a longer sheath, everything will give a gap. Preferably don't use that. This is a 28 centimeter access sheath which snugly fits into only the 4 French ureteroscope.
So always a 28 centimeter?
Yes, yes sir.
I have one more question.
Yes sir.
Supposing if you don't have that 4.5 French ureteroscope, then how will you tide over this problem of passing the access sheath where it is not going snugly into the ureter?
Right. For this we can use a cystoscope, the smaller one whichever is available. So we can load back over the cystoscope, enter into the bladder until up to the bladder, and then over the access sheath we can negotiate the ureteroscope and enter into the ureter if possible, or put back the normal guide wire based introduction can be done. Over the cystoscope, enter up to the bladder and then take over again back to the RGP based.
Can I just add that also a super stiff guide wire helps in this?
Yes, definitely.
That's what I want to add. Actually, super stiff guide wire helps because the cystoscope is slightly shorter when compared to the length of the access sheath. So it would
we have to use a smaller access sheath at these cases, sir.
Thank
right.
you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Siddhalinga.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.